Chapter 3. Sanji. His leg ached in the cold. Previously, he had taken no stock with the old sailor's tales that injuries could sense the weather. Well, then again, he had not had an injury this severe before. As soon as the pressure dropped, the pulse began, and it continued as he watched the snow settle onto the Barattier's deck. Zeff snorted as he turned to see his gaze inward. The festive period would be booming for the restaurants, and he lit his mustache that, if he were on dry land, they would be taking in enough cast to see him and the eggplant through till Mars. As it was, with below freezing temperatures and choppy gray seawater, few were stupid enough to be at sea. So, barred the odd marine and uncomfortable-looking pirate, they were empty. The eggplant wasn't letting that faze him, however. He was still trotted over to each table, 5-foot-something cocky little brat, serving up pan-seared foie gras, and looking far too pleased with himself. A peg to the head soon stopped that. Sanji spluttered and cursed as he climbed out of the chairs he collided with. What the hell, shitty old man?
Don't you use that language, shitty old eggplant. I told you not to work today. You know that foie gras is meant to be sauteed.
Tastes better this way.
You're 50 years too early to be questioning my cooking, boy!
Shut up! My way is better. Now let me work. The diners ate their starter quickly, hoping the argument would end if they disposed of its cause. Fortunately, they were wrong, and the argument was still going after all the diners had left, and Sanji was clearing the dishes. The manager cook scowled to himself as he put the last of the dishes away, standing tiptoe on a stool to reach the shelves. So Zepsu said he could have Christmas off? Stuck on the boat with a city old man? Everyone else was going to be in the kitchen, so why shouldn't he? Besides, it wasn't like he found working in the kitchen a bore. Zeff knew he lived for cuisine as much as the old man himself. The door swinging shut drew the young Sanji from his monologue, and he turned to see a present perched on the prep counter. Drying his hands, he hopped down and moved towards the package. As he picked it up, he saw his name scrawled neatly on the gift tag. The paper was metallic. When his hands felt the gift, it shimmered all hues of blue he could imagine. The boy's eyes sparkled as he tentatively unwrapped the paper. The Fish Cooking Encyclopedia. A thick, hardback volume full of recipes for every edible sea creature. Wax colored carefully so chefs can keep it at sea and not worry about damage in storms. Sanji gazed and wondered as he drew open the first page and saw the same scrawl on the tag inside. Eggplant. Keep this for all the all blue. Zeff. Sanji hugged the book to his chest and tried to blink away the tears. Because real men don't cry, damn it! Joseph, Jonathan, and Kestrel all have something to say about that. And the city old man said no presents, so he can't cheat and buy him something like this. The last cover let the evidence slide away as the young boy enjoyed the gift from his new father. Peeping in from the door's porthole, Zeff stroked his mustache and smiled. True, their budget was tight, was trying to make the business successful, and princes were a luxury they really couldn't afford. But it wasn't really like he didn't know about the handmade chocolates that had been snuck in his room that morning, and he couldn't let the kid one-up him. Besides, it was the first holiday he and the eggplant were sharing together. If fathers were meant to spoil their sons. If the next one is Nami, can I leave? No, we're staying through this. We can manage. We sat through chapter 10 of Sweet Taste of Cake together. We can handle this. Right. Nami. No, we can do this. Yeah, we all can handle this. The small village of Kokiyashi never really was festive. The warm-tempered climate never allowing snow, and frost that festive villages had assumed were meant to occur. It always yelled at the young Nami. She wanted to experience her book shoulder, with a big tree decorated by a warm fire, and all those lovely expensive gifts. Bellmare was far too tight with their money for such things. They never had a tree, or decorations, as he knew her gifts were just Nezuko's old toys, repainted and wrapped. dust floated up from the forest. Nami kicked the street, meandering back to the farm. Reading the festive tale made her angry, and when she complained to Bellemare, the inevitable fight began. So she stormed out to cool down. Now she felt guilty. They may not have had much, but they always try so hard. Still, it was difficult to ignore the image in her head of the three of them with Genzo, sitting down for a turkey feast. The villagers wished her Yuletide greetings as she passed, but lost in her own fantasies, she ignored them. The fantasies were halted as he reached the bottom of the orange fields. Small garlands of ribbons and tinsel lighted the shrubbery to her house. Like a trail she followed it. A wreath was on the door, just like the one in her picture book. Gently pushing it aside, Nami entered her home and felt her breath taken away. There were no firs on Kami Island, but a palm tree looked resplendent, decked with lights and small decorations. Garlands of foliage and berries decorated the hearth. There was a small bundle of presents under the tree. The warm scent of oranges and cloves hung in the air, and Nami could see the modest-sized bird covered in fruit and cooking in the oven. And at the table, Nami's book open beside them, were her sister and mother with big grins on their faces. We couldn't get the snow or the tree, but we thought this would be okay. Did we get it right? The blue-haired girl asked her sister, grinning from ear to ear. Nami was speechless. Bellemare picked up her youngest daughter and gave her a brief hug. I'm sorry for shouting earlier. You were right. This is the time to celebrate. So, we have to make the effort, money or no. Do you like it? Nami nodded, hiding her embarrassed face in her mother's shoulder. All afternoon she had been resenting them, while they were busy making this the best Christmas ever. As Dojiko pushed some of her gifts to open, her favorite map drawing pen, repaired with a new nib for Better Agassi. Nami didn't care there was no snow, or expensive gifts, or a big feast. Her family was there, and they loved her. I swear to Celestia if the next line I read is Genzo, I'm going to break. And later, when Genzo arrives with the toys for them and a goose for the dinner, that made it better. Even if he did get angry when he saw her gifts to them, instead she stole it from his home earlier that week. Just because it's Christmas doesn't mean she's going to waste her own money on gifts. Oh gosh. You know the next one's Chopper. Yes! Chapter 6. Chopper. The blizzard was fierce that night. The streets of Bighorn, empty of snow, settled in drifts, over rooftops and pavements. It was the worst snowstorm the island had in years. And with Christmas only a day away, it was causing distress for many who lived in the village. The streets were near empty for days, no one venturing out of their warm homes unless it was strictly necessary. This left one child very worried, as she sat in her window, fretting as she looked down the street. Come back to bed, sweetie. You should be up with that fever. The girl, face flushed red despite shivering with cold, turned to face her mother forlornly. But, Mama, it's Christmas tomorrow, and you said Santa can't make it with any of the presents, even though his tree is ready by the fire. That wasn't too far from the truth, the mother thought. With her eldest sick by the food, youngest still in nappies, and father vanished on some mission thanks to that ridiculous King Warpole, she had no way of venturing out in this weather to pick up presents. The family needed caring first. I know, sweetie, but you really need to come to bed. Come on. Wrapping her arms around her mother's neck, the girl let herself be carried, all the while thinking about poor Santa being stuck in the storm. A thought struck her as she mumbled into her mother's chest. Maybe Rudolph can help him? Sorry. You told me the story where Santa couldn't fly because the sky was stormy. So Rudolph used his big red nose to guide everyone. So maybe he could this year and Santa could still bring me my presents. As he put her daughter to bed, the mother sighed resignedly. Either way, it appeared her daughter would be disappointed tomorrow. But it was Christmas, and her daughter was sick. So she didn't have the heart to kill her dream. Maybe he will, sweetie. Off to sleep now. The girl coughed to herself as he settled into bed. Her mother was startled by a firm knocking on the door. At this hour, in this weather, who could it be about? She was thoroughly startled to open the door to an elderly woman clearly not dressed appropriately for her age or weather conditions. She held the doorframe protectively. Dr. Rean, what are you doing here? The old woman brushed past, walking into the house like she owned the place. Tried behind, completely bemusing the woman still standing at the door, was the doctor's small reindeer pet. I was told by some patrons in the pub that your eldest had a nasty bout of flu. That could be lethal for someone of her age. And let me look at her. She wanted to say no. Get this crazy woman and her ridiculous prices away from her home and her baby. But the girl was fading, and there were no other doctors. She just wanted her little girl to be okay. So instead of arguing, she just followed Dr. Rean and the reindeer as they walked to her eldest's room. The little girl was roused as the elderly doctor shook her gently, examining each ear before looking at her mouth when she yawned. After a few minutes of poking and prodding, and doctoring and administering a vaccination, supplied by her handy animal assistant, within minutes, color had already returned to her face. What did you do? The mother was in awe. Dr. Reed stood and smirked, popping over her bottle of alcohol as he did. Just gave her an inoculation. Give her these pills twice a day, until they are gone, and she'll be as good as new. A bag of pills found its way into the mother's hand, as she nodded in understanding as the doctor walked back out to the living room. So amazed was she by the results, she didn't notice the young girl stroked the little reindeer, or when the girl climbed out of the bed to follow the creature outside. Now, about my payment. Dr. Reed was glancing around the room, looking for anything of value for payment. As he saw this, the mother got scared. She didn't have much of value, as she could need them coming over the months. Her concern was strong when she heard a young, joyous voice by the door. Mama, look! Sure enough, she saw her daughter practically vibrating with glee, as the doctor's young reindeer dragged the sack into the house. When he stepped away, its contents rolled out. The gifts had ordered from the carpenter a few weeks back, as well as the festivals and the makings of a hearty Christmas dinner. Barely distracted from her examining, Dr. Reed smirked to herself, and laughed when the young woman tried to thank her for the gifts. This has nothing to do with me. Chopper was insistent we pick these up. Apparently, some men at the pub were trying to bring these to you, but you're so far out they couldn't make it. And of course, he's so soft he made sure we brought it instead. Startled, the woman looked at the reindeer who was looking at her. As soon as she turned his way, he avoided her eye. And she could have sworn he was blushing. Who ever heard of a reindeer do such a thing? Thank you, Reindeer Coot. You saved our Christmas. The little girl, all trace of sickness forgotten in glee, clung to the reindeer's neck, causing the creature to jump a mile. Mama, do you think he's Rudolph? Because he guided Santa to our house, but his nose isn't red. Either way, we wouldn't have a Christmas if it wasn't for him. What do you need to say? The reindeer, terrified at their close contact, was already out of his way door, but he heard the little voice fall him out into the cold, filled his heart with warmth. Thank you, Rudolph. Merry Christmas. Chopper only had to wait 5 more minutes for Dr. Reed to exit the house, and he slid over to her gently as they walked to the village together. He saw her munching on a mince pie, ball of sherry in one hand and carrot in the other. Upon seeing him looking, she laughed and passed the vegetable. Payment for cheating the girl. These were left out for Santa and his reindeer. They would be appropriate, eh, Rudolph? Chopper blushed, his charge only laughing louder as a result. Just because he couldn't be involved in the villagers' Christmas celebrations didn't mean he didn't want to be. And giving and spreading cheer like that, Chopper thought that sometimes it was Christmas was all about. Stupid humans can't make me happy like that. We need another break. Right!